Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Michael Meier Show for Real Estate Rockstars. Today, we have an amazing show coming your way. We're going to start it up in a couple of minutes. So before we begin, a little bit of housekeeping over here. Rule number one of this game, of this show, if you have a question, do not keep it to yourself. Ask the question in the comments section below, and we're going to make sure to answer your questions, to make sure that our guest answers your questions so that you can get the information that you need to build an epic business for yourself. So please don't be shy, interact. And you know what? If you don't have a question, how about like a little high five? How about a little fist pump? How about a little, hey, I gotcha and I love this? Just include your comments below. If you're watching this on the replay, then I want to say thank you so much for watching this on the replay. We appreciate having you here, and still post your comments below because we will be here to answer those questions. So getting everything started over here. I'm hearing a little bit of feedback here, but we're going to get it cleaned up in 2 seconds. Okay, awesome. So let's get this show here on the road. And everybody that is with us, once again, thank you so much. And all right, here we go. Get this going. Super stoked for today's show. So welcome to the Michael Meier Show for Real Estate Rockstars, where we help agents build epic businesses for themselves. We educate them, we teach them, and we do that by inviting to our show some amazing guests, the most successful, knowledge-oriented, and people who come from a place of contribution, people who are going to share information with you to help you build your business. So today on our show, the topic of our show is all about how to stay in contact, how to build relationships with those contacts that you have in your database, how to grow your database. We're going to be going and delving this deep, and it's going to be an amazing, awesome show. So without further ado, welcome to the Michael Meier Show, and let's get this going. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, let's go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Michael Meier Show for Real Estate Rockstars. Today, we have a great show. It's going to be jam-packed with information. Thank you so much for joining us and attending. This is going to be fantastic. Don't forget to ask your questions below. I have with me my co-host, Jennifer. Hey, Jennifer, how you doing?
Hey, Michael. How's it going?
It's going fantastic. Jennifer works with me here at Meier. She is fantastic, and she will be there to make sure that if you ask questions below, not if, when you ask questions below, she's going to be there to make sure that it comes up and that we answer your questions. So let's just jump into the show. So let me tell you about today's show. The topic of today's show is your sphere is your success. How to stay engaged every day. So the best person that I could find to talk about this topic of staying in touch with your sphere, which is something that's really, really valuable. I'm going out there, I'm like, who should we talk to about this really important subject for agents looking to build a business referral based from their sphere? So I go out there and I look, and you know who I find? I find Zvi Brand. If you don't know who Zvi Brand is, you're going to after the show, and it's someone that you should definitely connect with. The reason you should connect with him is he is one of the most passionate people when it comes down to relationship building. He created a company called Contactually, which you probably have heard of. Lots of brokers, lots of agents use Contactually to build better relationships with their clients. And they've helped agents grow their business 40% in a year by forming better relationships with their contacts using Contactually. So this is not only somebody that's just a really friendly guy, someone that I've come to know and like and respect, but he's also got the tech understanding strategies in place that are really going to help you build great relationships with those people in your network. So without further ado, I want to welcome you to Zvi. How you doing?
Michael, Jennifer, thank you for having me. To prepare for the show and your energy, I've chugged like 3 Red Bulls in the past 10 minutes. So I'm ready to go. I'm ready to beat you here.
Oh, I am psyched. All right, good. Well, energy flies and goes around. And so thank you for bringing it to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, thank you. So Zvi, let's just get a quick wrap up. Most people know Contactually, or they should, but why don't you give people like a quick understanding of what your product does, and why is it that you're so passionate about relationship building in the first place?
Absolutely. So the core idea that we're set out to solve is we believe the best businesses in the world are built upon personal and authentic relationships with their clients and their partners. And so we have to realize that our relationships are an asset. And if it's an asset, then we need tools and technology that helps us build and maintain that. And so we created Contactually because we saw relationships come and go. And we want to make sure that those relationships that start to slip away, we can bring those back. And so Contactually is a CRM built for specifically relationship-oriented businesses like real estate agents. And what we do is we can pull in all of your email conversations, phone calls, text messages, et cetera, and then every day identify who in your sphere you need to talk to, who you need to add value, and when it's time to stay in touch.
Fantastic. So what I'm curious about is you're a tech guy, right?
Yep.
Great. Awesome. So you have lots of different opportunities. There's so many different things that you could be doing in technology. There's a lot going on in the tech world right now. And I'm curious, what drove you to think about getting involved with with building a contact management software in the first place? Like, I know you're like a super friendly guy, and you're like sometimes even tech people are a little lost in their phone, so to speak. Yet you're like super relationship, you're a friendly guy. I'm just curious, like, how did you end up doing that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually am that introverted guy. Like, I was the guy that freshman year of college was thinking about going home every weekend because I didn't want to have to talk to people, right? So it's very strange that here I am today, right? But what I learned early on in my career, and this resonates with every agent listening, is that I learned that who I knew, and more importantly, who knows me, that was the best asset that I had. So I went from working in a cubicle at some government agency to being CTO of a company that was acquired back in 2009. And then I was working with the likes of Ford and CBS and Volkswagen, all these great companies in a short order, not because I'm good at what I do, but because I built the right relationships. And so I said, this has changed my life. I want to help others. And I realized the best way I could do that is with technology. And so I said, there's no CRM, there's no contact management tool that really does the right job of helping people build and maintain these relationships. That was the idea behind Contactually 6 years ago.
Yeah, wow. It's only 6 years? Wow.
I know, it's crazy. I'm thinking like, wow, it really has been 6 years.
Wow, very cool. So the really awesome opportunity that you've had, and one of the reasons that I'm like super excited to have you on the show and to kind of pick your brain is like, I could talk to a lot of people that have a lot of friends, but you're literally studying the analytics on building relationships because you're a software guy. And so I'm curious what you've learned about relationship building. And just so everybody knows who's watching the show, there was no like pre-planned questions here for Zvi, so he does not know what's coming.
We know each other well enough.
If you want to pass, you can take the fifth or something, okay? It's all good. It's live. We can't edit it. But what I want to know is, like, maybe what are some things that you've learned during this process, and maybe by studying how these relationships have been formed? Is like, what are some principles you've learned? Anything that you might want to share that might be interesting to people?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously, like, we're actively tracking something on the order of 300 million relationships at any one point in time. We've got billions of data points. We've got a full data team behind me that's understanding how relationships work and how people flow and ebb and go up and down in priority. I'm going to simplify down to one key learning. And this is something that, like, honestly, you had Tom Ferry on a couple weeks back, great friend of mine, and he was talking about how teams are increasing in market share, individuals are decreasing, and you actually hit on it. You've said one of the key things that I think the best agents are understanding more and more, and I think the market needs to understand and use the term business, right? Is that I think real estate for decades has been like this cottage industry, but the best agents and teams are treating it as a business. And what does a business have that others don't? strategy, right? So like when it comes to your relationships, I think too many people treat relationship building and my sphere as like a New Year's resolution. Like, I want to go to the gym, but I got busy, right? It's like, all right, whatever, I forgot to follow up with that person. So what? Yeah, I know I should talk to my past clients. Oh, well. As you know, like you run a business. You're not just an agent, right? And I think that's where strategy comes into play. And so the best agents don't say, oh, this is just like, like a New Year's resolution kind of thing. I want to be better in my relationships. This is the strategy that I'm going to implement today and tomorrow and the day after that's going to help me cultivate those relationships.
Yeah, that's very, see what it's funny. So I got this cup I just saw in the store, and it says, we can see it over here. I'm into like mugs and sayings and stuff. And the cup over here says, live less out of habit and more out of intent. And what I like about what you're saying over here is, you habitually may do certain things to stay in touch with people, and that may result in you staying in touch with maybe a very few number of people. But if you have the intention of going out and make contacts and staying in touch with people, and you put strategy and technology behind it, you're going to be that much more successful with it.
Exactly. Like something, when we talk about habit, right? How we naturally as human beings interact with people. There's a really great researcher named Robin Dunbar. And he did the research that came up with this clear concept that the human being can only maintain 150 relationships at any one point in time, right? So a good exercise for every agent is if, tonight, take out a piece of paper and write down everyone you know. And you'd probably end up between 150 to 200. Now, do we really think we're only going to have 150 leads in our life, 150 clients in our life, 150, close friends in our life? No, right? And so that's where we need to say, all right, my mind will not be able to help me all the way. I need technology and process and systems to make sure that I am talking to the lead that came in 6 months ago that wasn't ready to buy yet, or the past client that I closed a home with 3 years ago and wasn't, obviously was very happy and maybe might be looking for something new, right? That's what we really see we need to focus on.
Yeah. Okay. So the topic for the show, and kind of what we're going to be delving into a little bit now over here is your sphere is your success, how to stay engaged every day. And I want to maybe start off by clarifying the question a little bit and tell you what I think some people maybe get nervous about.
Yep.
Is, if you were to email everybody every day, if you were to call everybody every day, you would become a nuisance, of course, right? Unless
Absolutely.
You're providing intense value every single day. So I'm curious, number one, what do you advise people to do in terms of staying in touch? How often should people stay in touch? And how do you stay top of mind with people? Give us some idea of how you make this happen, what the frequency is like. Curious to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we need to focus on, yes, when we think about your sphere, like people think, okay, it's just a big group of people. But in truth, we actually need to think about our sphere as buckets of people, right? And the core term we need to get comfortable with is prioritize. We need to prioritize our relationships, right? So Michael, right, if you had a renter looking for something in the Lower East Side on one hand, and then someone who had just moved, who was like just getting into town and was looking in the $10 million range, they're not the same, right? Let's be honest here, right? One's going to be more important than the other. And that's where we need to be sure that we spend more time focusing on those relationships. We don't just drop the other ones to the floor, but maybe some we keep in touch with once a year, and we just send a quick check-in. Hey, how are you? They're on your Christmas or holiday card list. And then some people, you do reach out every quarter. You do understand, what their business needs are and see if you can find relationships, right? So prioritization is such an incredibly important thing. And of course, we have to be comfortable that some people may not be worth it all the time. We may see that some people, they've already sent me 2 referrals. I want to be thanking them and taking them out for coffee, inviting them to dinner at my house and meeting my family. And then some people, you could tell that the moment you handed them the keys at the closing table, you were never going to talk to them again, right? And so I think prioritization matters a lot.
Yeah. So when people are prioritizing their contacts, some people, and I go through the learning process myself, will put people into millions of categories and almost get lost because they're organized in too complicated of a way, right? They go from like having the most unorganized database to having like just too overly complicated of a database. Is there something that you've learned in terms of the number of, in your case, buckets or categories that people might want to keep in mind when they're organizing? What are some best practices?
Yeah, it's a great question. I say it's honestly whatever you feel comfortable with. The important thing is that you do make a practice and a habit of reprioritizing or rethinking your structure, maybe as your business changes, maybe as the season change. That's completely okay. We say, hey, listen, start out really simple, like A, B, C. A's are your top, C's are your bottom, D's are like, I'm not even going to be thinking about, right? And start off with a simple system there, right? Of course, beyond that, if you're ready to move beyond that, start off with identifying what your goals are, and then say, all right, for each goal, maybe create a bucket and put in the top 50 people that are going to help me achieve that goal, right? And so the core thing that we have to think about there is that too many people go down the organization route. They try and organize their relationships. You don't need to organize, you need to prioritize, right? Get the difference?
Yeah, that is very interesting. So not as much organizing, but prioritizing. So you're going to be placing people in categories more based on follow-up than necessarily. So like, for example, I can, as an agent, or, I'm a broker owner, but, I manage agents, and agents in my company can organize by buyer, seller, renter, etc., right? And then you can organize by past clients, and then there's sphere of influence, and then there's so many different paginations of the way that people can organize. Are you saying that that's not as critical as if I had the option right now of choosing a category system and I had to do it in 5 minutes or less kind of thing? It would just be like, need to talk to in the next 90 days, need to talk to him, and just break it down by priority.
Just importance, right? Players and pawns or something like that, right? Because if you organize, right, if you put all of your past clients in the bucket, remember, $10 million condo, Lower East Side rental, right? Which like those are both past clients. You don't want to be staying in touch with them and treating them the same way, right? So you could, if you wanted to, if you like to organize, you like to think about your past clients as one group, that's fine. Maybe have your top past clients and then the rest of your past clients, right? Just in some way, just make sure that you're thinking about prioritization. That's what we've seen the most successful top performing agents do. They think about their goals and identify who's best to hit those goals.
Yeah, that's really cool. I'm going to throw a practical example your way.
Absolutely.
And you may have already answered it, but let's try this. So I'm going to pick, we generally talk to, on this show, agents across the board. But a lot of the agents that watch this show, they've been in the business maybe for a couple of years. They've had some success, but they want to take their business to another level, right? And they come in and they want to tap into the knowledge here in this show, in this think tank, so to speak. And so maybe within 2 years in the business, everybody told them you need to go and make contacts. So they've been taking all these contacts and putting it in an Excel sheet.
Yep.
And have this Excel sheet, and let's say they have on this Excel sheet, if they've done a crazy awesome job and like just met a ton of people, they have like 1,000 people on this Excel sheet. Tons, right? They don't talk to these thousands of people all the time, but they met all these people. They're in there because they met them at an open house. They're in there because they contacted them on a property they have listed. They're in there because they met them at a dinner or lunch or randomly on the street. They're in there because, I don't know, they go to their temple, church, whatever, right? And they're in there. And now they're now watching this show and they're like, holy crap, like I really am not organized here. Like I just have all these people. So what will you say, and what would you say would be their first steps to taking 1,000 people? That's a lot of phone calls. That's a lot of time.
Yeah.
Almost probably people are like, you know what, it's too hard for me. I want to make this more simple for them and give them, I want you to preach to them here. You can tell them what to do and how to get their 1,000 people into a digestible format. And what's your advice to such a person?
Yeah, absolutely. So first off, ditch the Excel spreadsheet. Why? And that's right. Like I started with an Excel spreadsheet first too, right? And I always say, hey, listen, start with an Excel spreadsheet, but once you have one, get it out of there. Because what you're doing is you're making it so hard for yourself, especially there's so much technology out there. Why are you manually updating when you last met people? Why are you typing in phone numbers and things like that, right? Get a good contact management tool, Contactually or something else that can look at your email conversations, that can look at your phone, right? That can look at your address book, right? That is scraping email signatures, that is finding social profiles, just to make sure that you don't have to worry about that, right? So you can focus on what you do best. And then we say, hey, again, don't go through one by one through all 1,000 people and try and figure out who you need to talk to. Instead, think about, again, what are my goals? Who are the people in my list that will help me with those goals? And put those people into buckets. Right. So again, of the 1,000 people, right, there's that rando that, again, was like asking about, rents in some podunk area of Brooklyn. Right. And then there was someone saying, hey, where in Central Park gets the best views or something like that. Right. Clearly, you can tell which ones are more important. And those people, again, you prioritize. So again, first, ditch the Excel spreadsheet. Then prioritize, and then last, find very quick, simple ways to add value.
Mm-hmm. So if you have 1,000 people in there,
yeah.
I'm going to make this a little challenging because most agents, when they're starting with that 1,000 list, it's like, oh my God, it's scary, right?
Yep.
So you're the guy that's going to make their life easy now. So you have these 1,000 people and you've been building this over time. So you don't even remember, maybe you have some notes in there, like I met you at a restaurant, or maybe you have some notes on there, like contacted me about this address, right? But you don't always even necessarily know how pricey that apartment was that they contacted you about, or, you're just beginning to get organized, right? Which is why they super need your software. Absolutely. And so they're like, so such a person, let's talk to such a person, worst case. I mean, worst case is you don't have a spreadsheet. Better than worst case, you have a spreadsheet.
Worst case, you've got a stack of business cards or a shoebox of business cards. Believe me, we've seen that too.
Right. Then we got to talk to a scanning company first. But so at least you got the spreadsheet here. And for them to call 1,000 people is going to be very difficult. So I'm sure you'd probably advise them to maybe chunk it, break it down, call certain people, number of people a day. But I'm just curious, I'm sure you've talked to a lot of people that have gone through such a process. How would, if you were that person looking at lists of names and addresses, maybe when you spoke to them last, but you don't know exactly whether they're $1 million client or less, how, if I handed you this list right now and said, hey, you met all these people, sorry you have amnesia, what would you do going through this list?
Yeah. So first off, I would do a scan through, sit down one evening, we have tools like the bucket game or something like that. Just go through the list and see if you can pull out anyone, right? Maybe maybe it's a little note like dog's name is Fluffy. Maybe it's something, hey, actually we're looking, multi-million-dollar property. Oh, maybe we're looking at something like, oh, that guy was a joker. I don't want to talk to him anymore, right? You can probably do something. Then we say, all right, you're not going to be calling all remaining 800 or so of them, right? That's crazy. Instead, for the people that you don't necessarily know who they are, first you need to see, do you have any kind of relationship with them? So we say, hey, the first thing you should always do is send out an email. Send an email using such tool like whether it's Contactually or MailChimp or Yesware or something like that, such that they can see whether they open your email. Send an email saying, hey, just checking in. Hope all is well. Love to hear about your business. Something completely, anonymous and harmless that, anyone would be okay receiving. Chances are of those 800, 500 of them are never going to respond and not open your email. 200 are going to open your email. Cool. Okay. Those are people that we should think about, right? They're clearly engaging in some way. 100 respond.
I just want to say, by the way, that this is awesome, but sorry, continue.
Right. 100 respond. Okay, those 100, then let's do some research, right? Again, easy to pull up someone's Facebook profile, look at them up on LinkedIn, figure out who I want to prioritize. Some may just get like a quick response to my email. Some may get a phone call saying, hey, thanks for the response. Thought I'd just give you a call instead. Some people say, hey, actually, like I'd love to take you out for lunch. I'm going to be near your office, want to meet up, right? Then you can start prioritizing among those. So again, we've just brought out those 1,000 people into the 100 people that I want to engage with in some way, right? So it's all about seeing who you add value in, casting out nets, and then see, all right, who's engaging, right? Who's opening my email? Who's responding? Who's clicking on my links, right? Because a lot of people aren't going to respond, and maybe after the second or third email, you drop them, right? Not worth it. That's okay, right?
Yeah. That's a really great way to get down to your sphere. Like if they're not opening your emails or they're not going to take the time to even respond at all, that's a really quick way. And I'm sure, sometimes you might go to spam, so they may not see it. So it's not 100%, but you're going to get, it's going to be 70, 80%, which starting with 1,000 rando people and trying to get to your 100, 150 sphere of influence, money-making, referral-based people, like that's a really quick, fantastic tip.
So now follow-up's really important, right? So of like the people that through your list you've identified you're important. Yeah, you don't want to just like drop them after the second or third email, right? You want to stay on top of them. But if someone, you're not necessarily sure who they are, they're in your group of pool of 500 low quality leads, you're not necessarily sure, maybe put them on a repetitive drip marketing campaign so you don't have to think about them, right? And ping them every quarter or so until they say, hey, don't talk to me again, or just it doesn't cost you any money to keep emailing them. So hey, just keep reaching out to them, and that's completely okay, right? But the important thing is don't think that you have to do things. Build systems that do the outreach for you for those lowest quality relationships.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. Another tip that I'll throw out there at people, something that I've had success with is if let's say you have not been in contact with your database as much as you'd like to, and there's a lot of us out there, and all of a sudden you wake up and say, I should be in touch with these people more, and I screwed up, right? So the first way that might be really easy to get in front of people in a kind of a slow way is if you start off with a little bit of a Facebook targeted campaign where you just create something that's personal, not salesy, and you go out there and you target your email list and you put it out there on Facebook so you start showing up in their feeds. And then after a few days, you send them an email. So it's not some random email out of nowhere, but maybe they recognize you by face, not by name. And they'll see your face maybe on the Facebook targeted sponsored post. And then they'll remember, oh, that face, that's Michael Meier. Oh, and now Michael Meier sent me an email. I might be more inclined to respond to you right now because now I remember who you are.
And get even more advanced. You're going to be able to see through Facebook who's viewed your ad. Maybe someone liked it, right? Oh, if someone liked that ad and I haven't talked to them in 2 years, I'm calling them up that afternoon, right? You can kind of cast out these nets and see who's responding, right? Who's engaging with me in some way. And you're always going to be surprised by what you do.
Yeah. Oh, that's another really fantastic one. So takeaways, a couple of takeaways from the show, everybody that's listening in, is number one, you've just learned how to take a database and very, very quickly in structured way, figure out, at least a high percentage of people that you really want to stay in touch with in a much higher level. Second thing that you've learned on this show, which I think is fantastic, is that you've learned that in terms of organizing people, if you're afraid of overthinking this process, the most important thing is frequency of contact that you should have with these people, level of importance of contacting them versus necessarily where exactly they came from. It's nice to know that they came from your website or from Street Easy or from an open house or for this or from that. I mean, that's nice to know for tracking purposes. But when it comes to actually building the relationship with them, it's maybe when you're talking to them on the phone, it's in the notes, hey, we met at an open house or something. But more important is when should you be contacting them? What is the timing on it? And who should you contact today versus who you should contact tomorrow? And lastly, doing that Facebook sponsored post, specifically targeting that list, see who's liking it. And whoever is liking it is someone that you should be directly calling. It's funny that you say that. One of the successful things that I've had is when I'll send out an email, right? And you'll see who clicks on the links on that email. And if you ever send out like a real estate related email and somebody clicks on the link of a listing, if you happen to put a listing in there, or a marketing report, or it doesn't matter what, they click on something that's information related, guess what, guys? They're interested in the information. That means that's someone you should probably call right away. And don't call and say, hey, I saw you clicked on my link, because that's really that's weird. But if you just simply call them up and say, hey, how you doing? I hope you got my email. And then you're going to have a conversation, because you know they're already interested in a conversation you're about to have. So Steve, that was really, really great stuff that you kind of shared with us. And thank you for that.
My pleasure. I hope everyone here found this valuable.
I'm sure. I can tell you every time I speak with you, I find it valuable. And so that's why I wanted you on the show. And I'm sure everyone will find this really, really valuable. Once again, if anybody is watching this on the replay, make sure to ask questions. See if anybody wants to reach out to you. How did they reach out to you? And, check out the product that you have. And, please take this as an opportunity to tell us a little bit about how people can reach you and how they can take advantage of the software you've created to help them.
Yeah, absolutely. So Contactually is pretty easy to find. Just look for Contact and Actually put together. We're Contactually.com, at Contactually on Facebook and Twitter. We have, obviously we have a really great product. It's totally free for 14 days, but don't just sign up for the product and poke around. I have a team of 60 people behind me that their sole job is to help you build better relationships. Take advantage, ask a question, reach out, send us a tweet, send us a Facebook post, right? I'm easy to find. I'm Zvi at Contactually.com. There's only one Zvi band online. So Google Zvi band, and you're going to find me in pretty much every network possible. And know that, myself and my team, whether you use Contactually or not, we're so passionate about relationships and believe that the best way to build relationships is deliver value to you. So don't hesitate to reach out to us with any questions and however we can be helpful.
That's awesome. The first thing to building a good relationship is providing value to others with nothing expected in return. And that's what Zvi's doing right here. He's giving you the opportunity to pick his brain and those around him. And he gives it to you also for 14 days free. So definitely something that I highly recommend that you guys check out. Jennifer, thanks so much again for joining us on the show. Making this all happen here. So that's that. And thanks for keeping up the hustle, as everybody could see right behind her. Anyways, just want to say thank you, everybody. If you want to reach me, my name is Michael Meier, Meier Real Estate. You can find me at michaelmeyernyc.com or, Michael Meier. You'll find me. Other than that, thank you so much, everybody. And Zvi, I will see you around. And thanks so much for all that you're doing and what you're sharing with everybody.
Thank you so much for having me, Jennifer, Michael, Brandon. Thank you so much for this.
You're welcome. Very welcome. Thank you so much.